Lion in the Wind. Chapter 5. 2 years later. Bergen tried his best to focus his tired eyes on the computer screen in front of him. But as much as he tried, he found himself struggling to read the screen. He blinked, rubbed his eyes and tried again. The letters still blurred and blended together into one bright, fuzzy mess. He took a sip of his catter, grimaced at the powerful flavor of the strong black drink and looked at the screen again. This time he could see better and quickly took advantage of this, finishing up several lines of code before saving his work. He transmitted the code into Tegani and took another sip of catter in hopes that it would help him stay awake. He then strode over to the large metal lion and said, "Wake up, Tegani." The lion moved and then turned his attention to the doctor. "What is your command?" he asked in a flat, mechanical, monotone voice. "Please do a systems check for me." The droid straightened himself and said, "All systems nominal. New operating code successfully accepted and implemented. Please state your directive." "Tell me a joke," said Bergen. "Please specify the joke." "Make one up." The lion seemed to struggle with the thought for several moments, and then said, "Program aborted. An abnormal program function has caused an exception in the advanced logics module." Bergen cursed under his breath. He sighed, and said, "Stand down." Tegani returned to his original position again. Bergen sat down behind his computer and studied the screen. He spotted several markers that indicated code problems and quickly fixed each of them. Satisfied with his work, he saved the program, transmitted it into Tegani and stood up briefly before being forced to sit back down due to a sudden rush of vertigo. "Oh, wow," he said as he tried to regain his senses. He stumbled to his feet and began to walk towards his office. "I need some sleep. I'll take a short nap and finish this in the morning," he said. He soon reached his office and plopped down on a couch just inside the door. The couch was well worn and had been his bed for many a night over the last 2 years as he struggled to write Tegani's AI program. At first he thought it'd be easy. Reality, however, had turned out to be entirely different. But all of his hard work had paid off as he was now very close to completing one final, critical element. This knowledge had pushed him to go beyond his limits several times to the point of near total collapse from pure exhaustion. Today was no exception as his body had again reached its limits and now demanded rest. And despite his best efforts to delay the inevitable, his body was going to get what it wanted. Within a few moments he was sound asleep. Silence now enveloped the room, save for the soft whir of computer fans and the deep, rhythmic breathing of Bergen and Persia as they slept in the office. For nearly an hour, nothing moved within the laboratory. Then, out of nowhere, a brilliant white light washed over the entire room, filling every crack and crevice with its piercingly warm radiance. The light soon faded away to reveal a tall, white-robed man from whom emanated a brilliant, yet gentle glow as though he were wreathed in powder-like flames. He stood quietly in front of Tegani and smiled lovingly at the large, metal lion as he knelt down in front of him. He then breathed on the lion's face, exhaling a brilliant, white, fog-like energy that spilled out of his mouth like a cloud of fire and surrounded the lion's head. Tegani relaxed slightly and then went stiff again. The man smiled kindly, and in a soft, sweet voice said, "Wake up, Tegani." Tegani's eyes blinked briefly and then focused on the man. "Who are you?" he asked. "I am Mashwa," said the man. Tegani thought for a moment. "I do not recognize that name. One moment while I access data on this subject." Mashwa laughed and then gently stroked Tegani's smooth metal face. "Grow in wisdom, knowledge and love. I charge you with protecting my people from the coming darkness. Live, and fulfill your destiny." Tegani raised a confused eyebrow. "I do not understand." "If you will be patient, I am still," he said, his voice trailing off as Mashwa vanished, leaving the room once again dark and silent. Tegani looked around the laboratory, but found no sign of the man. He contemplated this briefly, and then returned to his research as he began an exhaustive search for answers. As morning dawned, Persia roused slowly from her bed, stretched long and hard, and yawned deeply as she glanced at the clock on Bergen's desk. 8 hours? Wow, I slept like a Yigson again. If I keep this up, I'll become a disgrace to catkind, she quipped. She glanced over to where Bergen was sleeping on his couch and grinned. Another long night again, Dad, she said quietly to herself. She strolled casually out of the office and stopped briefly to stretch again before continuing. Morning, Tegani, she said sleepily as she passed by the large metal lion. Tegani turned his head towards her and said, "Good morning." Persia froze. She slowly turned her head towards Tegani and stared wide-eyed at him. He blinked. She turned around and studied him closely, all of her 5 senses at high alert as she tried to make sense of what she was seeing. "Did you just say something?" she asked cautiously. Tegani nodded. The hair on Persia's back stood on end. "So you know what I'm saying, right?" she asked, her caution growing into nervous fear. Again Tegani nodded. "I have familiarized myself with all known spoken and written languages and their dialects, as well as over 1,723 other forms of communication." Persia backed up several paces, and said, "Dad? I think you should come see this." Tegani looked towards Bergen's office, and said, "He is still sleeping. I shall endeavor to wake him so that he may hear what you have to say." No. "That's okay. I'll do it myself," said Persia nervously. She bounded across the laboratory into the office and began nudging Bergen vigorously in an effort to wake him. "Dad, wake up. You need to see this." Bergen grumbled and slowly opened his eyes. "What is it, sweetie?" he asked groggily. "Dad, something's happened to Tegani. You really need to come see this." He closed his eyes, and said, "Can this wait until later?" "Dad. I'm not joking. Something's happened to Tegani." "Come on, get up," said Persia through clenched teeth. She glanced briefly at the metal lion and then back at Bergen. She nudged him again. "Sweetie, I'm tired. We can play later," he grumbled. Just then his phone rang. Bergen grunted, muttering incoherently to himself as he fished his phone out of his pocket. "Bergen here," he groaned as he answered the phone. "Persia has requested that she speak with you. It would be proper protocol for you to address her request as stated. When you are done, I would also like to speak with you." "I have many questions," came a stiff mechanical voice. "Huh? Who is this?" groaned Bergen. "I am called Tegani," said the voice on the phone. "Tegani," said Bergen in curious surprise. He sat up and looked to his right to see Tegani standing just a few feet away from the door, his data leash stretched nearly to its limit. Bergen blinked in surprise. "I told you something funny happened to him," said Persia. "Were you speaking to me?" asked Bergen, unsure of what else to say. Tegani nodded. "I am currently addressing you through the public phone system using this facility's mainframe as a bridging device between my processing core and your phone. You would not respond to requests of attention from Persia, so I stepped in to provide my assistance." The phone slipped out of Bergen's hand and plopped noisily onto the couch as he stared with utter, awestruck amazement. "You're functional," he said in shocked surprise. Tegani nodded. "I am operating within all currently assigned system parameters," he said, this time aloud. Bergen shook his head in amazed disbelief, grabbed his phone, hung up on Tegani and then quickly dialed Slayo. The phone rang several times before a tired voice answered. "Slayo here. Get down here, now. Something amazing just happened." Elgar walked into Black's office and tossed several folders onto his desk. Black studied them with interest. "Ah, today's intelligence reports, I take it?" "Mostly, yes," replied Elgar. "Anything interesting?" asked Black. "Yes. It seems that our last stalling tactic has failed. The Gorg are beginning full-scale preparations for a war against us. They're still 12 months away from being able to do anything, but the war is coming nonetheless. We're not able to delay this any longer." Black waved dismissively. "No matter. We've already gained enough time. What is the progress on Delbra's work?" "He's doing well. The Army and Air Force are within 6 months of being completely ready for war. There's just one problem. Black raised an eyebrow in curiosity. And what would that be? While our army holds the technological advantage, the Gorg hold numerical superiority over us by as much as 10 to 1. Even with everything we have on our side, it will be very difficult to win this war, or even hold the line once the Gorg begin their attack. Black leaned back in his chair and contemplated the situation. Then we need to find ourselves a trump card, and soon. Got any ideas? Asked Elgar. Black sighed deeply. For the first time in years, no. Elgar reached down and flipped open one of the folders, exposing the cover page. Then how about this? Black read the title page. Tegani Project, Dr. Bergen, leading researcher. He looked up at Elgar in surprise. This is Dr. Bergen's project. What about it? Elgar grinned slyly. This will be our trump card. How? It's still just a mindless lump of wires and alloys. Elgar pointed to one line near the bottom of the page. Black read it and stared with amazement. It's operational, he said in surprise. Elgar nodded. We believe it became sentient early this morning at around 4:30. Shortly afterwards it began downloading every data archive it could gain access to, both on our network and across the internet. So far it's downloaded several hundred terabytes of information and is presently maxing out all of our primary data links. Are you sure it's Bergen's robot that's doing this and not some hacker who may have breached our network? Asked Black. Elgar shook his head. The source of the activity was traced back to a programming terminal in Bergen's laboratory that was connected to his robot. Black rubbed his chin nervously. Was any sensitive data downloaded? He asked. Thankfully, no. Our technicians successfully kept it confined to just the library mainframe and a couple other low-priority systems. Nothing above security level 2 was accessed. Black nodded in approval. Good, good. I wouldn't want our newest mind to accidentally stumble onto something we don't want it to see. That might prove to be catastrophic for us if it did. Black then grinned as he thought about this some more. This creature already intrigues me. Especially its insatiable thirst for knowledge. I think we should have a meeting with Dr. Bergen today and see for ourselves what this mechanical monstrosity of his can do. A dark form draped in flowing, tattered, black robes stood at the edge of a decaying line of trees and studied the prairie beyond. As he did, a large, equally black, raven-like carrion bird known as a grek alighted in front of him and bowed. Lord Nagago, I have come as you've requested, said the bird. What have you to report? Asked the dark form, his voice tortured and demonic. The bird twisted its head to the side, and said with a squawk, Mashwa has returned as you predicted, my lord. Nagago growled angrily through yellow, rotting teeth. His eyes blazed like fire as bony, shriveled fingers reached out from under his cloak and curled up in an expression of frustration. It would appear that my return has not gone unnoticed. The bird squawked in agreement. Has the proxy been chosen? Asked Nagago. He has, master, said the bird. Nagago growled. Then we need to kill him before he becomes a problem, he said. That may be difficult, master. Why? Growled Nagago. Because he is not a living creature, my lord. He is a machine. Nagago reared up in surprise. A machine? That is not possible. Mashwa would never choose such a creature to be the guardian of his people. You are mistaken. He only chooses those of flesh and bone. The bird retreated several steps in fear and bowed low to the ground. I do not deceive you, master. Mashwa has indeed given life to a machine, it squawked. Nagago repeatedly flexed his shriveled hands as though contemplating this new development. Then you have seen this creature? He asked. Not with my own eyes. I only learned of it through one of my most trusted spies. Although his heart is as dark as mine, he would not lie to me about something so important, said the bird. Nagago's eyes flared up as he thought about this new development. After a moment he motioned for the bird to leave. Be off with you. Find where this new proxy resides. I will send hunters after you to destroy him as soon as he is found." The bird squawked with excitement, and then leapt into the air, speeding away quickly to carry out his master's orders. Nagago then gave a deep, snarling growl. Within moments, a small pack of black, oily, tortured creatures, akin in appearance to that of a wolf, appeared out of the prairie in front of him. They were Vandros, another of the dark, twisted servants of Nagago. "We are here, Lord Nagago." "What is your wish?" said one of the Vandros. "A new proxy has been born. Find and eliminate him with all prejudice," said Nagago. "As you wish, my lord," said the lead Vandros. He then turned, and with the pack close on his heels, raced away to carry out his orders. Nagago growled angrily, and then looking to the sky, shook his fist defiantly. "Long have you fought me, Mashwa. Long have you impeded me. But no more. I shall destroy this planet and claim your crown and your kingdom as my own."